know who will be the suitable for the whom this DAMA program will be suitable. Okay, and by the end of this live session, you will know exactly what it is, who it's for, and how you can apply for it. So, first thing first, what is the DAMA? DAMA stands for Designated Area Migration um, Agreement. Basically, it's an agreement between the Australia government and specific regional area. These areas often have jobs that are hard to fill locally. So through your DAMA, regional employers can sponsor overseas workers for skilled and semi-skilled jobs, even if you might not meet the usual requirement for other visas, like the standard 482 core skill stream or the 494186 to the general one. In short, it's a program designed to help regional Australia fill skill shortages while giving overseas workers a pathway to live and work here. Okay, so compared to other visa pathways like the standard 42 or 186 visas, DAMA can be more flexible. For example, it might require low English or skill or have no skill require like yeah some lower skill requirements depending on your occupation and the region. So what's the benefits? Okay, or who benefits from the DAMA? I can say it's both the employer side and the employee side will be beneficiary from this DAMA agreement. So from the employer side, those regional businesses located in the DAMA region, um, they might are struggling to find skilled worker locally. All right, so through this DAMA program, they will have more advantage, or they will be it will be easier for the employers to find their required skilled workers. And also, one great advantage on the DAMA is that the employers may not need to pay the usual TSMIT, which is the temporary skilled migration income threshold. Yeah, so these can make employers to hire easier and more affordable to the employers as well. And from the employee side, there are huge benefits from this DAMA agreement. So the first thing is every state, every DAMA like regions, they will have their freedom to choose or to pick their own required occupation and to make their own customized occupation list for their regional DAMA. So that's why you might find lots of occupations that are not on the general employer sponsored occupation list, but will be sponsored by a certain DAMA occupation, will be on the certain DAMA occupation list. Yeah, so for example, cafe or restaurant manager, aged or disabled care worker. These occupations are not on the general 482 core skill occupation list, but can be sponsored by a certain regional DAMA list. Okay, and also truck drivers, farm workers, all these occupations, they are available on most of the DAMA occupation lists. And also the age limit. Okay, so the age limit for the 186 or 494 visas on the DAMA agreement may be 50 or even 55 years old instead of the usual 45. Depending on the DAMA, of course, depending on the different DAMA regions. But this definitely opens the door for more experienced workers who are, yeah, who are aged who are aged 45 or even older, and which make them no longer eligible for the general employer sponsor visas. And also, most of the DAMA regions, they got lots of other exemptions. For example, the English requirements. Okay, so you could possibly get some English concession. Yeah, so because let's say for the general 482, the 482 core skill list, for the core skill stream, the English requirement is 5 each or 36 each in PTE. But in most of the DAMA agreement, under most of the DAMA agreement, the English requirement can be just 5 overall or even 4.5. So overall, DAMA is a great option if you want to work in regional areas and potentially transition to permanent residency later. Now, DAMA visas are not for everywhere in Australia, only certain regions. And in some states, they may have a DAMA for the whole state area. Meanwhile, certain regional towns inside the state also have their own separate DAMA agreements. I would take Western Australia, for example. So, first of all, in the whole Western Australia, all of the employers they might be able to enroll to engage into the Western Australia DAMA agreement. So we in Western Australia, we have a general DAMA agreement applied to all businesses in Western Australia. But also in certain regional areas, which is, I think, there are separate four different DAMA specified for a certain regional area in Western Australia. For example, Kalgoorlie, they do have their own DAMA. And the Karratha, they do have their own DAMA as well. And also, we do have Southwest DAMA as well. So, if you're considering DAMA, you must check whether the location you want to work in is part of a DAMA. Okay, so this is important. And also, you need to check which DAMA suits you the best. Because if there is a certain regional area that might be having access to both DAMAs, you need to find out which DAMA you need to join. Your employer needs to join. Okay, so this is important because the rules, occupations, and the eligibility can differ between regions. I'll take Western Australia DAMA and the other local DAMA for another example. Let's say if your employer is in um, southwest of Western Australia, let's say in Margaret River. So instead of the Western Australia DAMA that your employer needs to join in, they should join in the Southwest DAMA. They should get the DAMA through their local shire instead of the whole Western Australia one. Um, and also, you need to first check whether your occupation is sponsored in Southwest DAMA, okay, rather than Western Australia DAMA. So these are all the things you have to check before you process next. Next, let's talk about the visa pathways under DAMA. So there are basically three main ones. Okay, I would say three. So the first one is subclass 482. Okay, so subclass 482, it's just the temporary work visa. Usually, this 482 visa under DAMA sponsorship on the DAMA stream is 4 years. It's up to 4 years visa, and it might give you a pathway to PR, okay, through the 186 visa. So 186 is called Employer Nomination Scheme. Okay, so under 186, there are two different streams. Either you hold the 482 visa for minimum 2 or 3 years time, then the employer can sponsor you to get 186 visa under DAMA region, under the DAMA stream. Alternatively, if a certain DAMA, they do have the 186 direct entry stream, you can negotiate with your employer, and if the employer is willing to, they might be able to straight away give you PR through the 186 labor agreement, which is the DAMA stream. And also, there is another visa called 494. So that's a visa in between. It is much better than 482, but not as good as 186 because 494 visa it's provisional PR. So once you hold 494 visa, you will get Medicare Okay, so it's kind of like compulsory. Oh, sorry, it's kind of like provisional PR. It's a first stage of PR. But once you get this visa, you must continue working for your employer who sponsored you on getting this visa for another minimum 3 years time. Okay, so after 3 years, you can apply for your own PR through the 191 visa. So after 3 years, when you apply for 191, you no longer need the sponsorship from your employer. Okay, so you just need to provide your work experience documents to show the department that, look, I've been working for the sponsoring regional area for already for 3 years' time, and please give me PR. So stuff like that. Okay, so I'll just do a summarization. The key advantage of DAMA are, okay, the key advantages. The first one is lower English requirements in some cases, and also wider occupation list. Okay, especially for lots of low entry level jobs, such as the aged or disabled care role. Okay, yeah, we can expand the topic with this aged or disabled care role, because from my experience, I am experiencing lots of international students, or the dependent of the students are working in this industry as a support worker, right? As a support worker, but they are all facing the same issue, which is this occupation is not in the standard CISO list. CISO list is for the 482 or 186 visa under the general stream. So lots of people, they are always wondering, in this case, do I have any PR pathway, or my job or my work experience in this field is just in vain? It's useless for my PR pathway? No, no, it's not. Okay, as long as you can find an employer who is willing to help you, to sponsor you, and also that employer will have access to a certain DAMA, okay, to a certain DAMA labor agreement. Um, from my understanding, okay, I believe most of the DAMA agreements, okay, most of the regions, as long as they have the DAMA, they are sponsoring aged or disabled care role. Western Australia, yeah, Western Australia DAMA, we are sponsoring aged or disabled care role. All the other four local DAMA in Western Australia, they are sponsoring aged and disabled care role as well. And in the other states, Northern Territory, the whole Northern Territory DAMA is sponsoring aged or disabled care role as well. Okay, so do aged or disabled care role have a peer pathway to stay in Australia? They have, but only through DAMA. Okay, only through labor agreements. And yeah, this is why we said DAMA give you a key advantage in terms of the wider occupation list. And also, the I would say last but not least advantage is it gives you streamlined process for regional employees, the process for regional employers. Okay, so basically, it opens doors that might not exist under standard migration programs. Okay, so next I would like to give you a summarization, or give you a quick step-by-step guide, or a quick overview of how the process works. Okay, so if you are looking into DAMA, if you want to um, find an employer or have access to the DAMA visa, the very first thing is you check, okay, you need to check whether your occupation is on the DAMA list for your region. Okay, check the right DAMA occupation list. And secondly, find a regional employer, find an employer willing to sponsor you in that region only. And thirdly, your employer needs to apply for the endorsement. They need to get the endorsement approval from their government, from their state government, or from the local shire. And then your employer needs to apply for the labor agreement through the Department of Home Affairs and get the labor agreement approval. Only after the labor agreement is approved and the labor agreement really comes into effect, only afterwards the employer can officially nominate you Okay, they can lodge the nomination application to either sponsor you on 482 visa, 494 visa, or 186 visa. And once they lodge the nomination visa application, you can start to lodge your visa application. And then just patiently wait for your nomination and visa outcome. Okay, hopefully it's positive. Okay, hopefully it's positive. And yeah, you can say it just involves all the above processes I talked about are just the general. Okay, just give you a brief, very brief introduction of what steps are involved in a DAMA visa. But in between, during each step, definitely there will be lots of requirement and the key, how to say, the key criteria you need to keep in mind. Okay, there are a few things I would like to um, to quickly discuss with you. So the first thing is as a staff, as a nominee, what kind of experience and what kind of qualification you need to hold. Okay, and whether you need to do skills assessment. This is the most common question I've ever come across. Pretty much more than 50 or 80-90% of the applicants they come to me, the first question they would ask is, do I need a skills assessment for DAMA? Okay, my answer is yes or no. Why? Again, it depends on which DAMA you're talking about, which DAMA, okay, your employer falls into, which region, and also which occupation we're talking about. Let's take the let's take the aged or disabled care role, for example. So in Western Australia, okay, if your employer is in Perth, okay, if your employer is in Perth, then they could only sponsor you under the DAMA for under the Western Australia DAMA. So according to Western Australia DAMA requirements, for a aged or disabled care role, you will need to show a relevant qualification, which is at least a Cert 3 in individual support, either disability or aged care, plus 1 year work experience, plus a full skills assessment. Okay, this is the requirements for Western Australia DAMA. And for Western Australia DAMA, the 1 year work experience must be full time. Okay, but in comparison, in Northern Territory, they do have different requirements. So if your employer is in Northern Territory, let's say in Catherine or Darwin, your employer can sponsor you as an aged or disabled care role through the anti-DAMA. According to anti-DAMA, if your relevant qualification, which is Cert 3 or Cert 4 in individual support, has been obtained in Australia, then skills assessment is not a must. Okay, you don't need to do the skills assessment at all. And also, yes, they do require the qualification, that's for sure. And also, they do require 1 year post qualification work experience, but the work experience can be just 20 hours per week. So it does not even need to be a full time job. So, see, these are the big difference between different DAMA. Okay, so yeah, I would strongly suggest you to look into to first find out which one is the right DAMA you are after. Okay, and also English requirement will be different in for in a certain DAMA. Let's say yeah, even if you and another person, your employers are in the same places, but just because your nominated occupations are different, the English requirement can be different. For certain occupations, they do have English concession, but for some others, they might not have. Okay, they might not have. So usually the English concessions applies to low entry level jobs. Okay, but for some professional jobs or for some management jobs, usually the English concessions are not available. So be very, very careful on this. Yeah. And also, lots of people they might ask, before I get the labor, before my employer got the labor agreement approval, since my visa gonna expire soon, can I straight away apply for the nomination? Can I? Unfortunately, we cannot, because unlike the standard employer sponsor visa, that the nomination and visa application can be lodged right after the SBS is lodged. This one, without a effective labor agreement, you cannot even go ahead to do the nomination. So if your visa gonna expire very soon, then you might need to find another visa just to make yourself have enough time to stay here and wait for your employer to sort out the DAMA labor agreement. Okay. Usually the endorsement, so the first stage, the endorsement application is between the employer and the local shire or the state government. Okay, and the processing time depends on different governments. But usually it should be finalized within one or 2 months time. Okay, so you need to spare at least, I would say, at least 2 months time on that, and be very careful. All of the paperwork must be submitted at the initial endorsement stage, including the 28 days of job advertisement. So this is another big difference between DAMA, employer sponsor, and the general employer sponsor. You might know, for the general employer sponsor visa, let's say 482 under the core skill stream, the job advertisement requirement is called labor market test. This labor market test this requirement will only be required at the nomination stage, but in comparison, for DAMA employer sponsor visas, labor market test thing must be done before the whole progress starts. So your employer needs to first spare at least 28 days, which is 1 month, to post the advertisement, to try to go through the local recruitment process, then to lodge the endorsement application, which means 1 month labor market test plus around 2 months processing on the endorsement. That is already 3 months, right? And once the endorsement is approved, your employer can launch the labor agreement. So the labor agreement might take another few weeks' time, let's say 1 month. So that's another 1 month. So 3 months plus 1 month. You'd better to ask your employer to start the whole process at least 4 months in advance before your visa expire. Then you might have enough time. Okay, so that's the time frame. Some suggestions about the processing. Okay. And what else I would like to tell you is some tips. Maybe I'll give you some tips as well. Um, so yeah, pretty much I've already covered everything. So the only tip is don't copy or don't just listen to your friends or someone you know who has successfully gone through the DAMA process. Why? Because their occupations might be different from yours. Their DAMA might be different from yours. Okay, so different DAMA got different requirements, got different occupation list. So be very, very careful. You better, if you're unsure what to do, if you're unsure about the precise requirement, please do contact me, contact OSIS Group to give you the most accurate information. Of course, we can help you to assess whether your employer will be, whether your employer will be a potential to sponsor you. Because just keep in mind, even DAMA, even DAMA is still employer sponsor visa. So the purpose of employer sponsor is that the employer needs to show they have a difficulty in finding suitable staff in the local market, in the local job market. So this is always the prerequisite to go for the employer sponsor visa. So to wrap it up, the DAMA program, it is a fantastic option for workers and employers as well in regional Australia. It is very flexible and it is designed to fill skill shortages and also can give the nominee a pathway to permanent residency. So if you're thinking about applying under a DAMA, or you want to check if your occupation is eligible, please feel free to reach out to me. I can help check your eligibility, check your employer's profile, and of course, I can help you with the whole visa, whole application process, starting from labor market test and starting from the endorsement till the end, till you got your visa grant. Thanks so much for joining me today. Don't forget to, don't forget to give me some comments or leave me a comment if you have any further question. Okay, so, yep, I will see you next time.